In my case, it's one of the cheapest one. You can waste the material because it's very cheap, smelling like fresh urine. Of course, you have to make it on both sides, but if you turn the coil, please make it very slowly and without any shocking and without any shaking, of course, because it's the problem. The sand inside now is in the right position. I hope so. We will see it when we collect everything together. In this moment where we did the gluing work, I can show you a very interesting effect I cannot explain, but I think it's not necessary to explain the effect. It's only a so-called control effect to check if everything is connected correctly. Well, you have to put one wire straight ahead, and you have to mount, so I can show it here, you can mount the other side of the wire to the minus of your multimeter, and you can keep the multimeter into your hands. So I cannot show it really, so I hope to try to. I put this one, and when I keep my hand to the outside the tube, it shows me 1.8, 1.9 volts. But you can believe me, you cannot glow any LED, you cannot do nothing. It's only, I don't know, I cannot explain. I think it's the sand inside who is doing something. Maybe he's loaded a little bit from the high voltage before. I cannot explain, but it's very interesting. So I can show you, if I keep the plus directly, I get also 1.7, 1.8, but if I keep my body between, I get a little bit more than before. So it seems that the quartz inside and the coil inside will do something I cannot explain, but believe me, I don't want to explain it. It's only a small check if everything is okay. If you can see this phenomenon in this stadium, I can guarantee you your pyramid will work in your home if you construct it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the most terrible work is done. While the epoxy glue is hardening, let me give you an idea why this construction is working. First, I have to say I cannot guarantee you my principle function because nobody can prove it. We can only see it is working, and we can only think about its functions. But I want to tell you what I found out in the time I made my work with the pyramids. Well, in the intro I told you we are not speaking about over unity, because over unity, I think it's something absolutely different. What we are doing is a mix, I think, between the magnetic field of the Earth, some kind of frequency inside our Earth, and the major important thing, you will see it on the end and on the demonstration of the pyramid, the so-called, I don't know all the names in English, but there are some water lines behind the ground where the water is flowing. And maybe you know it, if you build some house, some people, they are very sensible for these water lines, bad lines and good lines. It's a kind of religion. Some people are laughing about these things. Some people, they keep it very, very serious when they build some houses, they keep somebody who is able to check it with two metal pieces. Maybe you saw it. The name in German is Wünschelrute. I don't know the name in English. And some people, when they construct their house, when they build their homes, they try to find out the good and the bad places, not to sleep on bad places and not to cook on bad places. And this was one of the greatest secrets in 2006 and 2007, one of my major secrets. I didn't tell anybody that these water lines, they are existentially necessary to give the pyramid some energy. So we can believe three things. On the first part, it's absolutely necessary to bring the quartz to any moving. So it could be some micro moving, I don't know, but you know, quartz is very sensible for swingings. And if we have the quartz inside proper installed, so it's absolutely possible to speed this quartz inside the tube. I cannot explain it really. I tried it with metal tubes, I tried it with plastic tubes. It doesn't work. It will work only with copper, and it will only work with quartzite inside. So there may be a possibility between these materials, so they react. I tried it without insulation, so I made some coils without plastic insulation. I made some coils with textile insulation. Without insulation there is no work, absolutely no work. With insulation it doesn't depend on if it's plastic or if it's textile, if it's black hard oil like bitumen. It doesn't depend. There is no more, no less energy producing. But it is necessary that you bring the pyramid into a correct north-south poling, and it is absolutely necessary to stay on a so-called water line or bed line, like you tell it. Well, my problem is I cannot feel these lines, so I have in our village somebody who did this, and it's very impressive because I checked it years ago with a few people. Everybody told me he can do this job with the two metal pieces to find the good and the bad lines. And I have some points here in my home, in my garden, and on other secret places. I did more tests with different people, and I marked the places, but I marked them in a kind you cannot see it. So I kept small nails on all points where the people say, okay, here are good places or here are bad places. I pointed some small nails with 80 millimeters, and I pushed them absolutely into the earth so nobody can see it on the lawn, for example. 2 weeks later, I invited the next one. It was a very old man. He's able to do this. He makes it here in the whole district for all people who are believing on this technology. And he did the job again. And it's unbelievable. He wasn't able to see the nails, but he found absolutely the same spots as some people weeks before. So for me, it's a proof that all the discussions about good and bad lines under the earth, they are not a joke and not a bad nightmare from some medias. And the third and most important proof is, you will see it in the outside demonstration. These places, you get energy without end, and that's the incredible thing. Well, let me say true, I knew this years before, but at 2006, 2007, I was very scared about all the people, thousands of people. Everybody wanted to be my friend. Everybody wanted to have some information. I had telephone calls from the Philippines. I had telephone calls from the United States. Universities invited me to present my pyramid. And maybe you remember at this time, it was very important for me to prove that this technology is an old ancient technology. So in my Austheimer, I was a great friend from Eric from Däniken, one of my all-stars, the man who made the pyramids in reality, because as I was a boy, as I was a child, it was the most important lecture for me to read something from Eric von Däniken. And maybe you know another Austrian author. Däniken is a Swiss, is from Swiss, we know. There is Reinhard Habeck, and he wrote the wonderful book Electricity for the Pharaoh, Light for the Pharaoh, at German Licht für den Pharao. And this was a book, it nailed me really, because the idea that the old Egyptians had some electricity, it was a great idea for me, and because it's not everything if you think they had some light, and there were some people proving that you can make light with a glass bulb you see in Dendera. The idea was, if they can construct pyramids, if they can produce energy from pyramids, what did they do with the energy at this time? And this is the most incredible question of our mankind. Well, I will stop with my Egypt and pyramid philosophy, because I know with this discussion I get the people laughing every time, because they say, okay, you're a fool, you can't produce any energy with a pyramid, you speak about things you cannot prove. But if I'm able now to show you that you can make energy with a pyramid, I am able to ask you why. And I am sure I'm not the inventor of this, and I'm sure this technology exists more than thousands of years. Well, there is one question: where is the proof for the old energy and technology? In this case, I can tell you something. The most things inside the pyramids, 1,000 years ago, they were from metal, of course, because you need metal to produce electricity. And if it is true, we have a real great problem with the pyramids, because the water lines beyond the earth, they change from time to time. So even we know North and South Pole, they are wandering, they are changing from time to time. And maybe it was fact that the pyramid stopped to produce energy because the lines changed beyond the pyramid. So in this moment, the pyramid will be without value. There are two possibilities what you can do against it. You can make the next pyramid near the old one. Great idea, because if you look to Egypt, you see plenty of pyramids, smaller and greater ones, and they are nearby in the same area. And I don't want to speak with you about the fully missing of any mummies inside. I don't want to discuss with you if this would be graves or not, but it could be that the pyramids stopped to produce. So we know the very first pyramid, it was a very scary technology. And a few meters far away, they built the next one, then they built the next one, and we know that we don't know anything. That's the major problem. We don't know anything about pyramids. We only know that what the people are saying us, the scientists say to us, and my problem is I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist, I'm a very normal man, and it doesn't have any value. So a few years ago, 2 years, 3 years ago, I stopped to discuss about the ancient technology. I stopped to make pyramids in the same inside design like the pyramids, for example in Gizeh. Maybe you can remember my V6, version 6 was constructed with a condensator in a 45 degrees angle. I tried to give the great stairways in the Cheops pyramid, I want to give him a sin. And I found out the angle about 42, 45 degrees.